Why, hello, my cherubs. So, today's video is talking about how I keep track of my collection. So, I think this is an important tool to have for any kind of game collector because you need to know what games you have, especially when you're at a place where you don't actually have access to your physical collection. And, you say you're at like a yard sale or, a flea market or a game store, and you're kind of interested in buying something, but you don't know if you already have it, which seems silly, but actually is a very common problem. I can't tell you how many game lots that I have purchased where I've gotten the same copy of Crash Bandicoot for the PlayStation 2, and I've sold several of them because for whatever reason every game lot I have is a copy of frickin' Crash Bandicoot for the PlayStation 2. With that being said, there are multiple apps and websites that you use. I have said several times on my channel that I like to use price charting. Now, there are multiple reasons why I like to use price charting, and we'll kind of go into it. The only thing I don't like about price charting is the app, but we'll get into that. So, what's important about collecting video games and logging them on some kind of archive system is for multiple reasons. A good reason is insurance purposes. Insurance for game rooms is important because if something happens, you can at least have a record of the things that you own and you can get certain coverages for that. So that's another thing. It helps for insurance claims. It also helps, like I said before, knowing what you already own, so you can keep track of buying new games. What also helps, and I like a feature about price charting, is, we'll get into it. But there's multiple reasons why I think that having a visual representation of what you're actually getting is super important. So, let's just kind of dive right in. Okay, so obviously most of you who collect games probably have already seen this website. I personally think this is the best option. I'm already logged in. I have an account. I actually took a bunch of time to log every single one of my games. Probably not in the best detail, but enough where I can cover it has a box, manual, and the disc. So I've done all of that for every single one of my games, even the games that I just put in my collection. They're not actually in my physical collection yet, but they're in my log for it. So here's why it's so important. So I'm going to start by just generally showing you what it looks like once you have your collection. Here's my collection. It has all the games. Ironically, look, I went over these games in my pickups for June. So it has everything. This is all my collection. You can literally go through. You can even find, I think you can look up people's collections. There's my URL for the collection. This is nice because I can realize how much I actually paid for it. And then if somebody asks me how much did you buy it for, I can actually tell them. Obviously, for some of my older stuff that I logged in, like, I don't know how much I paid for GoldenEye Reloaded. I have no idea. It was so long ago. Same thing at Heavy Rain. Conveniently, with some of the games that I bought used, they actually came with the sticker still on them, so I tried to fill it in as I went along. But for most purposes, I don't really know how much I paid, and some of these I paid full price for. Actually, this one, I have the box manual, but I'll probably fix that later. So yeah, this is generally what it looks like once your collection's in here. You can actually put in multiples of the same games, which is nice. I actually have two of the same SP systems that are in there. One's mine and one's Red's, so that's why. Okay, so I wasn't happy with the camera, so I fixed it now. Anyway, still not really happy with the camera. Better. So yeah, it's really nice just to be able to like catalog and see what everything else that you have. One of the nice features of this is if I wanted to do a certain video on just, I don't know, a certain system that I have, say like Game Boy, I can search Game Boy and I can pull up my collection for Game Boy. It tells you your full value. It tells you the value of just your Game Boy and how many items you have for the Game Boy. Obviously, I don't have that many for the Game Boy. Apparently, it's very, very sad. But generally, this doesn't even count my Game Boy Color, so I could have sworn I had more Game Boy games than this. This doesn't even count all my copies. I only put single copies in here, so I do have doubles, which I do try to sell the doubles on the side. Unless it's certain games like Pokemon, I generally keep the Pokemon games that are doubles just in case Red or I want to play it together. But it's super important to keep track of your games, because actually what happened to me was, so I actually had a copy of, I don't know if it's going to show up here, it might not show up till later. So I actually already had a copy of Need for Speed Underground, and I knew I had it, but I didn't know that I only had the disc. So I was out in the wild, I was actually shopping at a flea market, and I ended up buying this game because I wanted to sell the extra copy, because this game, like I said, look, I bought it for $2, it sells for $16. So if I could sell it even for $3, $4, whatever, I can make that much profit off of it. So I purposely bought it, and I ended up only having the disc only at home. So I ended up making a complete set, and now I can sell the disc only. Probably won't sell it for that much, but now I have it. Now I know. The same thing goes for Fight Club. I only have the disc only for Fight Club, but I can come here and I can look at, you know, if I only have the game, I can refresh and have it all just show up as just the game, which is very convenient for when I'm shopping out in the wild and trying to figure out if I already own the disc. The thing that I really like about price charting is it's super convenient to use. It's super easy to figure out. Like, you just search whatever you want. I don't know, let's just say we want Legend of Zelda, and it'll come up with like every Legend of Zelda game. It'll tell you whether or not you already have it in your collection, or if it's on your wish list. It's not on my wish list because I already have it. You know, wow, there's a lot of Zelda games. I kind of mentioned that I don't like the app, and I think that's kind of important to address, because some people use Game Eye because it's an app, and the app is kind of convenient too, but I don't think you can actually back it up, and it's a little harder to use, at least for me. So I was using it for a brief time, but I kept finding myself going back to price charting. So the solution that I found that worked best for me was I just logged on to price charting through Chrome on my phone, because you have a Chrome app on your phone and you can just access it that way. And to me, that just made more sense to do. It doesn't look as pretty online. It's not as convenient, but you know, it works. And you know, as I said, when you're out in the wild looking at games, you're not going to go through your whole collection. You're just going to do a quick search, which is definitely super easy to do. The price charting website is so much easier to use on a computer, but if you're on the go and you're just trying to check something really quick, it works pretty well. The same thing goes for the app too. The app's pretty good for like doing a quick price check. You know, you just kind of log on and check your price real quick. It's nothing too much to write home about. There's no save features or anything. It's very, very basic. But again, if you're just out in the wild and you want to just want to check what something is, instead of having to search forever on eBay, it's just so much easier to do it that way, as opposed to like, you know, having some other 10,000 apps, which I know people actually have multiple apps with their things on here, but I think that's a little crazy. Another feature that I really love about price charting, which I don't know if other sites have, they probably do, I just haven't really looked into them because I'm such a huge fan of price charting, is this lot calculator. Now, you can only use up to 10 games at a time, which isn't that big of a deal, because you could just save the prices and kind of, you know, add it all up together if you have more than 10 in a lot. But you can just type in a game. Let's just go with, I don't know, Legend of Zelda, and we'll do Breath of the Wild. So that's generally where you can do complete in box. I have it set to complete in box because generally when I'm buying lots, it's usually complete in box, but you can change it to set to like just the game or loose or whatever. And we'll do, I don't know, we'll do Animal Crossing, New Horizon or whatever. And then you can just see how much the lot is valued at and how many items in it. It just gives you a quick little representation. For example, that PlayStation 2 lot that I had with Resident Evil, and I keep using that one because it's the most recent one, and I know everything in it. So Resident Evil, that Lego racing, I think it was a Lego racing game, a Army Men game, and Harry Potter, that lot was like about $74, and I figured out how much it was by using this. So it's just a convenient tool. for when you're buying lots, because you could be on the marketplace, you could be on Craigslist, you could be on wherever, and you can just have quick access to these things. So that's just that, and you can just, you know, remove them all when you're done, and it goes right back to normal. But that's pretty much it. I mean, that's just kind of a preference for me. I think this is kind of something that's not really talked about. Like, people don't necessarily talk about how they categorize their games. They just kind of I don't know, I feel like it's just a magical thing where they just kind of expect people to just know what they have. And I can tell you that I don't know how many games that I have. I did actually go through back in May and purged all of my games and took out all the doubles, and I had a lot more doubles of games than I didn't think I actually had. And when I was organizing the game room for the video back in March, I realized how much I actually had game-wise. So, you know, just something to keep in mind when you're doing your game room, or when you're just trying to price out something. Like I said, for insurance purposes too, it's kind of amazing. I know that you have to talk to like a certain insurance agent depending on what you have and how expensive your collection is, and is it really worth insuring, because sometimes it's not worth insuring. That's just something to just, you know, that's adult stuff. We're not worried about that right now. So what are some of the apps or websites that you use to keep track of your games? Is there a favorite that you have? Is there any tips to the trade that I should know? Should I be putting intense amount of details in mine? I don't. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes I do. It depends. It depends. When I first started cataloging my games, I definitely was much more cautious about how much detail I put in, and I kind of slowed down and put the brakes on it as time went on, because it just was like, I had so many games and so much to put in there that I was like, okay, it's fine. This doesn't need to know that it has a sticker on it. We'll be alright. But that's pretty much it. So, make sure to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, preferably a thumbs up, but you do you. Make sure to, well, I just said thumbs up, so I guess it's like, yeah, right? Make sure to subscribe, because I greatly appreciate it, and make sure to come check out my Twitch channel where we continue the conversation of retro games and current games and game collecting and all of that wonderful stuff. And we will see you in the next one.